I want to open by just talking about some of the things that we've been trying to get done here and have gotten done over the last several years. And I know that all of that is on the backdrop of a time when a lot of folks are still struggling. So I want you to know I acknowledge that. A lot of families are still, sitting at the kitchen table doing math, trying to figure out how they're going to make their bills work by the end of the month. And I appreciate the fact that a lot of things are uncertain. We still have a lot of work to do. So for me, affordability isn't just a slogan. It's truly a test of whether Jacksonville works for the very people that we're here to serve. So tonight is about earning your trust. It's not really about earning your trust as much as it is about sharing what we believe is working, what we think still needs work to do. And of course, we always want to earn your trust, but we feel like we do that by actually delivering on the promises that we say we're going to deliver on. So why do we do town halls? We do these basically every quarter. We do them because it's important to listen. I think it's one of the things that we don't do well enough in public life sometimes. I have gotten some of the best solutions on issues facing our city from folks in our town halls, but we've got a lot of progress happening in the city right now. We've got cranes in the air everywhere. We're growing very rapidly. We've got about 17,000 people a year moving into Jacksonville, 120 a day moving into the region. It's pretty crazy, right? That's a great opportunity for us on a lot of fronts, but it also presents a great number of challenges. So I want to talk about what we're doing to help people with all kinds of costs in their daily lives: housing, healthcare, food access, neighborhood investment. Those issues are all connected. Rising housing costs, they tighten everything up. Delayed healthcare can become a crisis. So we're looking for real solutions, and I said that really starts by listening to you. So when I came into office, I promised that we would improve the quality of life by delivering on the basics more effectively. I think one of my slogans was make infrastructure sexy again. And I think the reason that is so important to me is because it's the foundation of everything. There's a great deal of infrastructure need in this city, and we have 850 square miles to cover. So it's not a small task. We want to make sure that we're addressing all those things. So accountability and transparency is incredibly important to me. One of the ways in which we make sure that we are addressing the needs of this city and that you understand what those needs are is if you can see what we're doing in real time. At the same time, our leaders are seeing what is happening. Where are we making progress? Where do we still have work to do? So our transparency dashboards, raise your hand, Wanyoni Kendrick is the head of our IT department and has created those and her team have created those beautiful dashboards that help you track everything from permitting to infrastructure to housing to service delivery. You name it. State of Jax. How many people have heard of State of Jax in here? Okay, thank you. I want you to learn more about that, and that's on the website too. That really is where we have gone in depth with a program called My Sidewalk. It's in partnership with the United Way to really dig deep into the data of all of our different neighborhoods. Where are we doing well? What neighborhoods are doing well? What neighborhoods are not doing well? Where do we compare when we look at ourselves versus other communities around the state and the country? So I think it's really important to know those because it tells us where do we need to invest. And accountability means that residents have that information at their fingertips. So we provide that for you on the COJ website. So let's talk a little bit about your neighborhood and investments that we have made in your neighborhood in Mandarin. $31.5 million invested in the CIP. This is the capital improvement plan that we have in our city that takes care of various construction projects and infrastructure projects around the city. $26 million of that on the Hartley Road widening, now in design. That's going to widen Hartley Road between San Jose Boulevard and Old St. Augustine Road. $3.5 million in the new Marine Fire Station, number 68. I cut the ribbon on that not too long ago. That's completed. Full-time Marine emergency coverage along the southern portion of the St. Johns River. Really important. That's important not just because we want everybody to make sure that they have that accessibility to be able to put out a fire quickly, but for your insurance costs. If you have a fire station that is closer to your house, your insurance costs are going to go down. So that's a big deal. $2 million in the Palmetto Leaves Regional Park soccer fields. That's in design. Supporting youth sports and expanded recreational spaces. Hi, Joe. Phil, welcome to sit down and enjoy yourself tonight. These investments mean safer roads, faster emergency response, as I said, and more recreational space for families and kids. And of course, most importantly, better infrastructure for everybody. Public safety has been another priority and a campaign promise of mine to make sure that we are creating the greatest health and safety for our residents that we can. That's job one, right? Do the best to keep everybody safe. And that's about more than just response times. It's about improving conditions that reduce crime. We gave historic salary increases to both police and fire, which we believe will help to create better retention and better recruitment. In fact, it already is. We also restored those departments to a defined pension benefit. That was a big part of helping them recruit. And also, they deserve it. They put their lives on the line for us every day. Our Journey Forward initiative unites law enforcement, service providers, and community groups to prevent violence before crises occur. So we're very excited about that. And the goal really is to have families feel safe at all times. Their kids can feel safe walking home from school. They can feel safe to have their kids out in the neighborhood playing, or whatever the case may be. Fighting hunger. That's a big one in our city right now, too. 1 in 5 children in Jacksonville face food insecurity. Hunger follows kids into classrooms, and it shapes really every decision that a parent makes. We've got $1.7 million invested in meals for elder care and food delivered to seniors, and support for Feeding Northeast Florida, which engages our whole community. We also have a food pharmacy for our veteran community, which Harrison Conyers has developed over at City Hall, because 1 in 5 of us has a connection to the military in our community, and we want to remain the most military-friendly city in the United States. And a lot of times when veterans come home, or military members have a difficult time really just paying for their costs when they come back from being in the military, and we appreciate that. And so I appreciate Harrison for always being vigilant and doing something about that. In fact, if we could give him a little round of applause, let me just say, I didn't tell you why yet, but he does deserve it anyway. Harrison is celebrating 30 years with the city of Jacksonville today, and we celebrated that together. So appreciate him very much. Our new State of the Food Plan is an opportunity to try to coalesce our urban farmers and really take the entire food plan for the city and fix gaps in our system. So all of this is an effort to bring our city together and make sure that we have what we need to keep everybody safe and healthy. On affordable housing, it's probably the number one thing we hear about more than anything else, not only in town halls, but just all over the city. There was a poll done last year where it overtook crime for the first time as the number one issue of concern to families, and that's I can't afford my housing anymore. It is at the center really of today's affordability crisis. One setback, and you can be looking at an eviction, or we can be increasing homelessness. So what we've done is we've created, in just the last few years, and in the pipeline to be finished, are 6,000 affordable units built and approved, and $2 million in down payment assistance. Nearly 1,800 evictions have been prevented with various opportunities for families to get help there. So housing remains our biggest challenge, though, and we're now focusing on speed and scale. We're minus about 50,000 affordable housing units right now, so we really need to work hard to bring that up to speed. And when I say affordable housing, I'm really talking about housing that a lot of our folks that are just entering the workforce are. I don't know who would be calling me at this hour. Probably a salesperson. We are really talking about folks entering the workforce, like our young people just out of college, our teachers. We've got to get more of that level of housing. We do pretty well in market rate housing, not so well for housing for people who are just in that entry level of getting housing. And of course, half of our folks are more than half really are renters. So we want to make sure that we're finding relief for them as well. In terms of healthcare access, it was a huge priority for me coming in. Healthcare has always been my passion project. As a 3-time cancer survivor, I very much appreciate the amazing healthcare resources that we have in this city with the Mayo Clinic, with MD Anderson, with UF Health, and others. But a lot of folks cannot access care in our community. So we have 200,000 residents who are underinsured or uninsured. So we've expanded access to care through Get Covered Jacks and HealthLink Jacks. Get Covered Jacks was an effort that got 34% increase in signups for the marketplace. Of course, that's sort of at this point in flux as we don't know what's going to happen there. But in terms of our national picture, reduced the uninsured population when we had that big push, though, by 34%. And HealthLink Jacks has really been a tremendous success. It's been a telehealth program for people who are not insured at all. And we've been able to save millions and millions of dollars in emergency room care, which, as you know, every time somebody goes to an emergency room, it drives up the cost of health care. But it's also made sure people can stay healthier by actually visiting a physician who can connect them to existing services instead of staying home and waiting till it becomes a crisis because you don't have the money. So it's been a very, very big success. Literacy. I feel like I say this on every slide, but these are the priorities of my administration. It's true that if we don't have our children reading at grade level, it's probably the biggest failure that we can have, because we know that those are the young people that end up struggling in life. So when we started out this process, we had some schools that were in the teens of the percentages of what the kids that were reading at third grade level. So from first to third grade, or from kindergarten to third grade, you learn to read. And from third grade on, you read to learn. And if you don't get to that point where you're really learning to read at a strong level, you really don't ever get over the hump on reading to learn. So that's why this is important. It's a public safety issue. It is a quality of life issue. It's an economic development issue, and we are making huge progress, especially in the areas where we have heavily focused on those areas that we're really lagging behind. So we're very, very pleased with River City Readers Initiative, which has been tremendous for us, and also Mayor Payton. I know many of you have heard former Mayor Payton just recently contributed $1 million to make sure that every 4-year-old in the city gets a book every month. That's a pretty big deal, especially for families who can't afford it. Yeah, appreciate him very much. On infrastructure, as I said, growth is great, certainly if it keeps pace with infrastructure. If it doesn't, then that causes a lot of problems for our community. Uh-oh, what happened? Uh-oh, it's okay. I'm just going to keep going. So we have had major investments in road resurfacing, in sidewalks, in bridge maintenance, in water system upgrades. All this is really important, and I know that whenever I'm in any neighborhood, people go, well, I've got some in my neighborhood that you haven't gotten to yet, and you need to get to it quick because it's falling apart. I get it. But again, I'm going to say, every time I go to the Conference of Mayors, I end up talking to the Oklahoma City mayor who has, it's not as big a city as ours, but I'll just say that a large area to cover. 850 square miles of infrastructure is a lot. So what we've done is we've graded those areas, and we said what are the most sincere areas of need, and we've tried to get to those first. We've also made it a priority to invest in those neighborhoods that have been under-resourced for many, many decades. I promised to take a look at those promises we made during consolidation that have not been fulfilled, and make sure that we're leveling the playing field for the neighborhoods that have seen the least investment. So in our capital improvement plan, we've invested $100 million in our most under-resourced neighborhoods, as opposed to the $15 million that we were doing previously. Again, $60 million for roads, 6 bridges repaired and replaced, $9.8 million for sidewalks and curbs, and you'll see that focus again this year. Parks and public places. Parks are essential to our health, our neighborhood pride, our quality of life. I certainly don't consider them extras. I think they are essential to our health as a community. And if you have not been down to our new riverfront parks, I hope you will take the opportunity to do that. You have so many beautiful parks over here. But I know that you would probably really enjoy seeing the parks on the riverfront, both on the North Bank and the South Bank. We've had tens of thousands of visitors just since they've been open for the last few months. And we're making investments across the city in our parks. Never enough, I know, but truly, those are one of the things that we prioritize. We even have a conservancy for our new parks that we are partnering with to make sure they stayed programmed, they stay safe, and we continue to make sure that they can be enjoyed by all of our citizens. So what's next? Well, as I said, real progress is being made on housing in the pipeline, expanded health access, food reaching more families, and infrastructure investment in those long overlooked neighborhoods. But we want to keep going. We got a lot more to do. Families are still feeling the pressure. So we can't really control what's going on in Tallahassee or in Washington, nor would I particularly want to, because I've got plenty to do here in Jacksonville. But we can't, those overarching things like healthcare and some of those issues that connect to the state and federal level, we can't do anything about those pieces. But what we can do is make sure that we can do our part to keep pace. So what I would ask from all of you is, as we continue this process, first of all, a sincere thank you for taking time away from your private time and your evenings to sit here with us and to talk about these issues. But I really hope that you will stay engaged with this city. I know it is very, very tempting when you see how divisive and ugly politics can be. And trust me, I don't like it either. I've done my best to try to bring unity to this community. But it's the business that it's how it is, at least at the moment, in some places, and I hope in Jacksonville not so much. But please stay connected is what I'm asking. I'd love for you to stay engaged and hold me accountable, hold our city council accountable, and make sure we're doing the things you want. This is a good time for me to stop talking because I've talked too much today and now I can't keep going. So I'm going to let y'all talk. If you would line up, that's what God's way of saying to me, Donna, okay, time to shut your mouth and let everybody else talk. If y'all would you don't need to line up because we don't have that many people. So just come on down whenever whenever it's time for you. I think we'll have plenty of time to answer all your questions. We're here till 7:30. So come on down and you can be first and ask whatever question you'd like and we will do our best to answer. I'm a little gimpy because I ran too much.
I'll let you get comfortable
so
first.
I'm gonna sit down and do it like this. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Can I have your name, please?
Yes, my name is Rafney Manning. I am with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women of the Greater Jacksonville chapter. If I could please have my sister stand with me.
Okay.
So we first want to thank you for your leadership in expanding access to healthcare through HealthLink Jax. Your commitment to ensuring Jacksonville residents can speak with the doctor anytime, day or night, removes critical barriers for families who lack insurance, transportation, or even a connection to a primary care physician. By providing free 24/7 virtual care and care navigation, HealthLink Jax is helping residents receive timely medical advice, refill prescriptions, and transition into ongoing primary care through Duval's Safety Net clinics. This program is especially important as healthcare access becomes more difficult for many residents. Today, 13.8% of adults in Duval County, that's more than 119,000 people, are uninsured, and nearly 47,000 live at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. With the expiration of Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies and the continued absence of Medicaid expansion in Florida, an estimated 17,000 additional residents are now uninsured. Communities of Black and brown residents are disproportionately represented among the uninsured, and many face additional barriers such as transportation, language access, and limited connections to primary care providers. Without accessible options like HealthLink Jacks, many uninsured residents turn to, like you said prior, emergency rooms as their primary source of care. Studies show that 76% of safety net patients visited an emergency room 1 to 3 times in the previous year, often for minor illnesses that could have been treated earlier. With an average ER visit costing us around $3,500, these avoidable visits place financial strain on patients, hospitals, and Jacksonville's taxpayers. Given the growing number of uninsured residents in our city, we believe expanding HealthLink Jacks will be critical to protecting the health of Jacksonville families and strengthening our healthcare system. As an organization committed to the well-being of women, children, and families, particularly in communities of color, we stand ready to support this work. So our question to you, we respectfully ask, is 1, what can the National Coalition of 100 Black Women do to support the expansion of HealthLink Jacks? And 2, how can we help your administration ensure that City Council understands the urgency of expanding this program for the thousands of residents who depend on it?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for all that, because you did a great job of educating everybody as far as why we do this. Lynn Sherman, are you here? Did you set these people up? Lynn, stand up. Lynn is our Director of Health Operations and does an amazing job. I don't know if Sunil is here. Is Sunil here? Okay, so Lynn and Sunil were the ones that were the architects of this program, and really we led the country with this. I think we're only one of 2 or 3 people in the whole country that have this program, and we started it. So it is a point of pride that we've been able to do this. But you're right, it needs to be expanded, and I'm gonna let Lynn tell you how you can get involved, because she's the guru. But at the end of the day, I will tell you that the political piece, since you asked that. As I said earlier, stay engaged, but make sure that your council people, not just Michael Boylan, who represents Mandarin, but make sure that your council people, all of them, hear from you how important this service is. And I'd love it if every one of them got a look, and I'm sure Lynn's already told them, but it gets a little bit more wind under the wings if it comes from a constituent. So I had no idea y'all were gonna be here tonight. I'm so grateful that you are, because this is a program that not only is near and dear to my heart, but desperately needed for so many reasons, but not the least of which is, in addition to making sure our residents are healthy, which means then they can work and they can provide for their families and they can create an economic driver for our city. But also, it's a great return on investment for our city. And so thank you so much for bringing that up. I'm gonna let Lynn talk to you about, Lynn, take the mic and tell them what they can do, because other people might be interested in this too.
So you asked, how could you help support this work? One of the things you can do is tell the people who are uninsured that this is available to them, because although our clinics, I know she mentioned HealthLink Jacks, and it doesn't stop with that one phone call. There's also the safety net clinics that help people with primary care moving forward. And so one of the things that you can do, and anyone in this room can certainly share with community members who are uninsured, that this resource is here. And so what I'd like for this group to do, I'd like to have an opportunity to meet with this group to talk a little bit more about how to create a strategy to really get into neighborhoods and share this information with neighborhoods and anyone else that's in this room, because we can announce it, we can put it on social media, but this is the kind of thing that needs to be in the neighborhoods, face to face, door to door, community meeting by community meeting. So I would love to have a meeting with you all to talk more about that.
Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. Okay, who is next?
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well. My name is Patrina Dixon, and
Patrina?
Yes, I am the CEO and founder of It's My Money, which is a financial education company, and I love all that I heard about here today and what I've read prior to coming, and your focus on literacy. My question is specifically on financial literacy. I know that there's a lot of emphasis on entrepreneurship, and even with the Mayors at Youth program
Youth at
that
Work,
you
yep.
have. Yeah, Youth at Work. I actually have an intern assigned to my company, so thank you.
Wonderful.
Yes, but financial education is still a need, and I see that there isn't a lot of focus that I have seen yet. Being newer to Jacksonville, I've been here about a little over 2 years, and I wondered if you could talk a little bit about how that can be incorporated into the literacy. So the reading literacy and comprehension is one component, but financial literacy, I feel like it's a dire need because no matter where you go, what they do, what they choose to do as they get older, and for adults in these areas that struggle with this, normally finances are a part of it as well, and wanted to hear how that can be incorporated into.
Listen, I do think it's critically important. I do think they offer financial literacy classes in Duval County schools. Do they not? I do believe they do. We don't have. Duval County schools are their own entity, so that's not something that I have any sort of authority over, but we have partnered with Duval County schools on our literacy program for River City readers, so there may be a way that we could partner on the financial literacy piece too. I do think it's incredibly important, and I'd be certainly interested in hearing any ideas that you have on that front.
Absolutely. I welcome the opportunity to sit down and talk about it.
Melissa, if you'll talk to Melissa's the guru of River City readers, so she'll be glad to talk with you about that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman Boylan, and members of the administration. Thank you all for being here tonight.
What's your name?
My name is Brett Nolan, and I am here on behalf of and representing the Mandarin Community Club, where I proudly serve as their vice president. Established in 1923, we are one of the oldest civic groups in Duval County, and for over 100 years, we've worked to preserve Mandarin's natural beauty and historic character. We helped secure Mandarin Road's designation as Jacksonville's first scenic and historic corridor under City Ordinance 2001-1009-E. Additionally, the club, in partnership with multiple District 6 council members and with citizen input, have gone on to get the corridor further designated as an historic overlay, one of 4 in Jacksonville. The club has taken a very proactive role in assuring that Mandarin Road retains its natural beauty, cultural integrity, and historic significance. We're strongly opposed to JTA's Mandarin Road sidewalk plan. It would weave a ribbon of concrete through the most sensitive and historic section of the roadway, risking irreversible damage to the protected patriarch oaks and their root systems, exactly what the ordinance was written to prevent. JTA has been unable to confirm whether any of these trees will be damaged, removed, or roots harmed. The plan doesn't meaningfully improve safety. Speeding traffic remains a high issue on that road, and the large oaks already butt right up to the road and easement, making safe setbacks impractical. Adding crosswalks with metal signs and flashing lights would further spoil the historic charm of the roadway. With tight city budgets and uncertain federal funding, we feel that this money would be far better spent in underserved parts of the city where sidewalks are truly needed. Mandarin and Jacksonville residents have shared their opinions, and they don't want or need this. Nearly 3,000 signatures have signed a petition created by a concerned resident in opposition to this sidewalk plan. I'm here tonight to voice this concern and to provide you with a folder containing our unanimous resolution detailing our opposition, the full text of the ordinance, our letters sent to JTA, a screenshot of the online petition with nearly 3,000 signatures, and our latest newsletter so you can see the depth of community concern. We respectfully ask you to help direct the JTA to either withdraw the proposed sidewalk extension beyond Red Cypress Drive or consider non-damaging alternative materials that fully protect the patriarch oaks that make our community so special and comply with the ordinance. We ask for your help to honor the protections we fought so hard for to maintain the beauty of our community for future generations. All of this is in an effort to protect the Mandarin that we all know and love. If you or anyone from your administration would like to meet further to discuss these concerns, we would welcome that at any time. Thank you for listening, Mayor.
Thank you very much for being here. And listen, can I just say thank you very much for your strong involvement in our community. Obviously, you have really spent a lot of time trying to make sure that life is better for our citizens, and I appreciate that so much. I do have some questions for you, if you don't mind. Have you been able to speak with anybody over at JTA?
We have sent multiple letters, and we have not heard adequate replies back. We're still trying to.
Michael, you got something on this? Come on up. I was going to get there, just so you know. I just wanted to know if he had talked to JTA.
I think thank you, Michael Boyle, District Councilman 6. I've been working on this project ever since I got elected. We're talking about extending the sidewalk on Mandarin Road from Red Cypress, as you mentioned, all the way up to Loretto. We've hosted a town hall meeting. There will be 2 more town hall meetings once they get to the next stage of the plan for community feedback. The club and others have dismissed it outright without understanding the potential of having both a safe pathway and the preservation of the trees. The project not only, the ordinance requires consultation with the arborist and with the city councilman. We've gone 2 steps beyond that. Number 1, we've put the arborist on the review committee. So if the permits won't get signed if the arborist doesn't sign off on it, and JTA has been required to include an arborist on site as they do their work. We will let people know what it's going to look like before if and when it does come to the next stage in the process. So we've been very open, very transparent, and reporting on a regular basis what's happening in terms of the progress of that project.
Can I ask a question, Michael? Is there any, I mean, does it have to be sidewalk? I mean, is there a way to use an alternate material?
As a matter of fact, right now, as we speak, the city is actually extending the sidewalk from Scott Mill to Loretto using asphalt. And that parallels what's already happened north or east of Scott Mill all the way up to San Jose Boulevard. And yeah, absolutely, we're going to take a look at other services and other ways to circumvent and not minimize the impact on the trees. There's no question. I have no interest in seeing those trees on that character, that community, compromised through this process. But I can't tell you how many citizens who actually live in that area who have young families would love the opportunity to have a sidewalk. I lived there for 26 years. And for 20 of those years, there wasn't a sidewalk on Mandarin Road. After it came in, after the last project through JTA, it became a viable place for my family to walk, my dogs. And neighbors said, what about us? Why can't we have the same thing you have a few blocks up the road? And so it was certainly natural on my part to work with the federal government to secure the funding with JTA to make this project possible. So we're going to do this in partnership with the community. We are not hiding anything from anybody. And I think it's really a misrepresentation to say that JTA has not been engaged in the conversation about this, because they have.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
That's not what I said. I said that we have sent letters to JTA, of which we have not heard back from yet.
I got you.
So we are engaged. with
Look,
that.
I share your deep love for the oaks. I grew up in San Jose area. Love those trees. They should be protected at all costs. I am one of the people who believes that trees are infrastructure, and one of the reasons that here in Mandarin, you all have temperatures that can sometimes be far lower than they are in other neighborhoods is because you have those big, beautiful trees protecting you. If it were up to me, the tree ordinances would be stronger than they are. And I just breaks my heart every time I see one of those come down. That said, I think Michael probably would agree with every bit of that. So the fact that we have an arborist, that arborist has been engaged, I would simply say that, let's see what they come up with. If it turns out to be, look, I know there's no replacing these trees once they come down. So I understand what you're saying, but I would be hopeful that they could create some sort of a plan, either through a different surface or a different pathway or whatever it would be, to give you all, the comfort that the trees aren't going to be affected, and at the same time create a safe pathway for families to go down this road. I get the character piece, but it is becoming less and less safe for people as we grow, for people to be on our roads that are well traveled, and Mandarin Road is one of those roads. So it's a balance, and we want to make sure that can happen. So I would encourage you to stay engaged. Please give your information to Melissa if you would, and we'll stay in touch. We'll find out if we can as much as we can, and would love for you to stay engaged with us and let us know what's happening.
We will certainly be engaged.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening.
Mayor. J.J. Hammond, and you and I
Nice to
have-
see you.
Yeah, good to see you. We've spoken several times about downtown redevelopment. I'm a native of Jacksonville.
And I think I know what you're going to talk about.
No, you don't.
Okay, all right.
Completely different.
It's funny because somebody yesterday, I thought about you because somebody yesterday came up to me and said, you know what we need downtown? We need an aquarium.
I'm going in a little
Going another direction. Okay,
little
okay.
different direction.
Okay.
But I am a native of Jacksonville and a retired fire rescue captain. So let me first thank you for appointing Chief Golden as fire chief. You made an excellent choice.
He's pretty awesome, isn't he? Yeah, I agree.
As I said, I grew up in Jacksonville. I don't have a question, but more of a statement observation.
That's okay. That's what I'm here to hear from you.
What's that?
That's fine.
Okay. Let me throw some numbers at you. According to Visit Florida, in 2024, 143 million people visited the state of Florida. According to Visit Jacksonville, in 2024, 8 million people visited our great city. That 8 million is only 5.5% of the 143 million people that came to our state. By comparison, Tampa had 40 million visitors, Orlando had 75 million visitors, Miami had 28 million visitors. Now, I'm not saying we should try to compete with these cities,
Please. I don't want
No,
75
no.
million visitors. I'm going to be honest with you.
but with two major highways running through our city, I-95 and I-10, our visitor numbers should be much, much higher. They are natural pipelines. We are missing out on a huge piece of the tourist pie and revenue. We must invest in projects that focus on those tourists and make downtown a destination and not a pass-through, and bring large numbers of people downtown. Yes, we have Art Walk the first Wednesday of every month, Riverside Arts Market on Saturdays, football, concerts, and other events. For the most part, people come downtown and head home as soon as the event is over. 3 things people like to do: eat, shop, and listen to music. An entertainment district that encompasses these 3 activities is a recipe for success. When I think of Mayor Delaney, he had the Better Jacksonville plan. Mayor Austin had the River City Renaissance plan. As mayor, you have the opportunity to put your stamp on a major project that transforms downtown Jacksonville for decades to come. The vision that I leave with you tonight, I affectionately call the Bay Street Experience, where a portion of Bay Street is turned into a covered pedestrian mall beaming with people and activity 7 days a week. Downtown Jacksonville should be just as active on a Tuesday night as it is on a Saturday night. I've heard you say many times that you like to think big. This is big. You will be forever remembered in the history books as the first female mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, but think bigger and have people putting Jacksonville on their bucket list. And just think of the revenue and jobs that would be created. Target those tourists driving through Jacksonville every single day and give them a reason to stop. Make Jacksonville a destination and not a pass-through. Thank you for listening, and I ask that you take this serious look at this vision.
Okay, thank you very much. I love the ideas. I love the ideas. Would you give Melissa some information? And would love to meet with you and talk with you more. I love the fact that you bugged me for years about that aquarium. I think it's important to have big things in downtown. But I would say this: what I love to be known for, frankly, in our downtown, is we are going to have a continuous. And I will absolutely look at this, and I think it's a great idea. But I love when we see everything in the next 5 years. First of all, you're going to see the Pearl District, Pearl Square, just behind City Hall, which is right there at State Street and Laura Street. You're going to see all of that come up over the next few years. Within the next year, you're going to see hundreds of living units. This is already leased and in the pipeline. Publix is coming in down there. You've got a number of high-end and otherwise stores and restaurants coming in down there. There's going to be, at some point soon, a Michelin restaurant. I mean, that is going to be, if you want to think of an area, think of around, what's that area called in Tampa? No, not Ybor City at all. That is not what I'm thinking of at all. A Hyde Park area. Think of the Hyde Park area. But there's another word they use, and I can't think of it now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you have a residential area which is buttressed by a lot of walkable, bikeable area that leads to entertainment, that leads to stores, that leads to residences, and all of those things. And I think that's going to be great amenities to have. But then also along the riverfront, you'll have a continuous series of riverfront parks that offer all kinds of different amenities between dining and things to do sports-wise and things to do with your family. I love the idea of people being able to go from one end of the river to the other on their feet, on bicycles. And you connect all of that then to an Emerald Trail that's going to be a 30-mile trail around the city where you can do all of that, right, through many of our historic neighborhoods. So because I'm an outdoor person and because I believe in good health and that movement leads to that, I think those are definitely legacy projects that we have. And I think we got a big attraction coming up with not only the new stadium, but also Mosh, that will be that's going to be world class. But there's going to be an entire entertainment district that's built around that stadium that's going to completely revitalize that area. And you've heard about the community benefits agreement that's going to benefit tremendously the east side and some of the areas surrounding, obviously the entire community, but some of those areas surrounding. This is going to be transformative for our city. So that might actually be a very interesting piece to add to all this, and we'd love to take a look at it and see what it's about. But I already feel truly that we do have some transformative things happening around our city, especially in our downtown. So I'm really excited about that and always open for new ideas. Thank you for always coming with the things that are going to make our city better. I appreciate that. Okay, who else? Anybody else? Thank you. You want me to, can I move that down for you, or you want me to, Al, can you help her with that mic? Okay, thank you, AJ.
Yeah, short people thing.
Listen, I'm right there with you.
Okay, I actually had two things.
Okay, and could you tell me your name first, so I have your name?
Sure, it's Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. We remember meeting you back in Atlantic Beach some years ago.
Okay,
So glad to see you sitting here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And I'd like this city under your tutelage and all the things you've done to be known as a livable city.
Yeah, me too.
I don't need high-end everything. I need it to be livable.
Well, that's why with if I could just take a second, with a city of our size, what's so important is how we craft it, right, as we build. We've been real good at just, building out, but if we could focus on creating walkable, livable communities where people within their own areas have the ability to access everything that they want. I mean, think about Atlantic Beach for a second.
Right.
Most of us in Atlantic Beach can walk out of our house, walk down the street, we can shop, we can go to a restaurant, right? We can ride our bikes. I want every neighborhood to have access to that sort of environment. And I think it's very possible as long as we develop in a way that is very intentional to that end. So I'm with you. I mean, I love the bells and whistles too, but I agree with you wholeheartedly that what we need more than anything is livability. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I have two different things, and I want to just ask about the Neighborhood Bill of Rights. It's an ordinance that gives neighborhoods the right. The gentleman spoke about the trees, and before things move forward, the people are notified. And there was a big thing on First Coast Connect this morning about stepping back and talking about the morgue that was placed in a neighborhood that they never knew about until now it's too late to stop. And I'm just concerned that sometimes people get overzealous in city council and skip. What can we do as residents of a neighborhood to ensure that our city council members are speaking in our behalf?
Well, I would say, first of all, what you're doing right now is really, really important. Engaging to make sure that we're putting people on that council and in the mayor's office and elsewhere that truly have our city's best interest at heart, that are going to listen to the constituency and not just rubber stamp things that are important to certain constituencies that they have, or that are thinking about their next political move and who can help them do that instead of, I'm just telling you, it all starts with citizen engagement. So you being engaged, you showing up, making sure, I'm gonna get on my soapbox just for a second on this because it's really, really important. And it's not y'all because you're here. That's the hard part, right? When it comes to our elections, we are really, really fortunate if we get a 26 or 28% turnout for municipal elections. I mean, it is heartrending when you know how important these decisions are. And so I would say, and this is what I always tell people, and this is not a comment about anybody who's currently serving. I'm just saying we get the leaders we deserve. We get the leaders we deserve because you got to show up, you got to vote, you got to engage, and then you got to hold people accountable when they tell you they're going to represent you and they don't. So having said all that, I think your engagement, I actually have repeatedly said that I love the idea of a neighborhood Bill of Rights, but that's partly what that young man was talking about in terms of getting overlays in certain neighborhoods, to get, but then what do you see that happens? A lot of times that gets overridden, right? So,
Well, how do you stop that? I've been to a few lose meetings and kind of given up with the fact that people, my neighbors, people I know in the neighborhood will come out and plead their case, and then lose just checks off what they want. It really makes you wonder whose pocket they're in.
It's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, we had this conversation earlier today, just at how I do not blame people for disengaging with their government, but yet I'm begging you not to do that. It is literally a chicken and egg thing. If you don't continue to press, if you don't continue to, raise Cain when that happens, it's just going to continue to happen. If you don't show up and vote, if you don't engage in community opportunities to stand up and say, I don't appreciate what you're doing, and it has to come from the community, because you're always going to have those people in politics that care more about their own political future than they do about what they're doing. Okay. And I really don't know what else to tell you beyond that. I mean, look, it frustrates me. It's partly why I am constantly talking about a unified community, because I believe that people who feel heard and feel cared for and feel like people are listening to their concerns will be more likely to engage and to try to make their city better. And yet, I mean, look around you tonight.
I know.
Look around you tonight. And look, I do these all the time, so I get it. And I like to tell myself, well, maybe that's because everyone's happy. But the truth is, I think people have busy lives. I think they're tired when they come home from work. I think they're tired of going to these meetings where they never. I mean, remember what happened during the budget when we had so many people come out to discuss what we talked about in terms of property taxes. That we're going to give $1 back in the pockets of people that own homes on the average of $1 a month, and we're going to cut almost $15 million from the services that we give you for your roads and your food and your health and all those things. Let's talk about real solutions. Let's talk about real solutions. But you know what? It looks good on a campaign ad that I put money back in your pocket. Really? Okay. You gave me $1 back, and the people who rent didn't get anything. Let's talk about the real costs. Let's talk about the real ways to drive success in our communities. But the only way to do that is to constantly show up and to vote and to make those people understand that you're not going to go away even when they frustrate you. So I would simply say, I know that's not a great answer, and if somebody has a better one on my staff, certainly feel free to get up and say something. But I don't know a better solution than to become engaged. And as frustrating as it can be, that's how you move the dial. Okay. At some point, the boulder goes over the other side of the hill.
One can only hope.
Yes. Well, that's
right.
why I'm here, and it's the
Yeah.
only reason I'm here, because some days I want to pull my hair out.
All right, so you talked about budget, which is a good segue
Yes.
to my next question. I got this thing from the sheriff's office about the Florida Sheriff's Association looking for a handout. And, okay, that's great. I read in here that the Florida Sheriff's Association, which is statewide, supplies bulletproof vests to Duval County. Is that true?
I
Do
have
we
no
not
idea.
have the ability to buy our own equipment? It
I
has
don't.
to-
I don't imagine we do. Percy, any idea? I don't. I won't have anybody here from the sheriff's office. I don't believe so. Not to my knowledge, but I couldn't tell you. I don't know much about that particular organization, so I couldn't really tell you what. And I don't run the sheriff's department, so I couldn't tell you there.
Okay, so and the other thing they said, which was also concerning, is that my gift supports information sharing that leads to arrests, and it just makes me kind of wonder. So who should I talk to about
Well,
this?
I would say that would be a question for the sheriff's office, the JSO. Yep. So that's another reason that I love to have these sessions, because it's important for people to understand how our consolidated government works. You have an elected mayor, you have an elected sheriff, and I am the mayor of the city, but he is the person who runs the sheriff's department. I don't have any authority over the sheriff's department.
Okay.
I provide budget dollars, as does the city council, for public safety, but beyond that, I don't know the day-to-day ins and outs of how things are run there.
But you fund his budget?
Do, yeah.
Okay. I'll take it to them. Thank
Thanks,
you.
appreciate it. Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt. But your alma mater just won the state championship.
Oh, how about that? Yay. My Bishop Kenny High School, and I have to say, because I'm going to brag for just a second, my niece is one of their star players, and did she have a good game? Okay, very good, awesome. We had to miss that tonight because we already had plans to come here, but I was on pins and needles. That's awesome, fantastic, yay. All right, yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Deegan.
Good
Dave
evening.
Hollingshead.
I'm sorry.
I'm Dave Hollingshead.
Hi, Dave.
In regard to your point number 3, access to healthy food, I'm going to ask the easiest question you're going to get tonight, I'm sure. For some time, my wife and I have volunteered with a group called Society of St. Andrews, which
good.
partners with commercial farmers, and we have a number of commercial farmers down in the Hastings area that allow volunteers to come into their fields, harvest their crops, and then take it back and donate it to food banks and
Fantastic.
other things. The question I have is this: we have commercial farmers more than willing to make this available. The food is there. The city of Orlando always sends a truck with volunteers. We have a bunch of old folks like my wife and me, or at least me anyway, not my wife.
Be careful, be careful.
Yeah. Who are there. But if we could just get more warm bodies,
Okay.
then we could be able to take thousands and thousands of pounds of food that is otherwise going to be plowed under, because these are commercial farmers, they have a business regimen, they have to hit time limits. The city of Orlando takes advantage of it. Who can I speak to within the city of Jacksonville who may be interested
Len, you want to talk to? Okay,
in
let's
partnering with us
let's
to
have him
do
connect
this?
with Len. That's fantastic. No, that's fantastic. I'm not aware, but I'd love to be made more aware of the opportunities there, because obviously that
It's an organization called the
seems like a
Society of
no-brainer.
St. Andrews.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a not-for-profit organization, and all
Okay.
of the food goes to.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
So I
that.
need to speak with,
Len is going to speak with you. Good evening. Oh, now you'll have to move that mic up a little bit.
Thanks for being out tonight, Mayor
Thank
Deegan.
you.
Robert Jeffers.
Hi, Robert.
I live here in Jacksonville, and I would like to ask about, it's a hot topic right now about
Okay.
the new Jacksonville jail, Duval County Jail. we're spending $750,000 to have what I understand is an outside organization come in and give us recommendations on what are they really recommending. One question is, what are they recommending how we can fix the current facility? Or they're going to tell us where we need to build our new facility? Is that what
we had an RFP process, and this is the company that won the RFP. And their job is to go in and vet all the possible sites where we could put that jail. As you can imagine, that's a pretty hot potato topic too, right? Because the sheriff would like to have, and we would too, I mean, it makes sense. First of all, the current facility is in terrible repair. But it's also in a place where we would like to see some incredible economic development happen along that same area where we are creating those areas where we want to have something like a convention center or those sorts of things, that would go in down there where we're building around the river. So the question is, what is the best place to put it? Because it's got to be a pretty large campus. It has to have a jail. They want to have the youth facility nearby, youth detention facility nearby. They want to have a medical. I don't want to call it a hospital, but it's where they treat patients nearby on the same campus. So the whole idea is to create a campus atmosphere of all the different things that would make sense around criminal justice, right? So the question is, where can that go? And that's going to require some study. So we conducted an RFP, and then we have a company that's going to go in and work on that to give. I think the idea is for them to come down with 3 sites that can be chosen between when we actually get to the point of building that jail. And I think our current thinking about it is to have somebody else build it, and we will lease it instead of spending the $1 billion to build it ourselves. So that's the idea. Did you have another question around that?
Yeah, so the second part of that is that jail's only 35 years old. It was built in 91, correct? So it's like 35, 36 years old. My question is, if they're saying that there's black mold and the elevators aren't working and the facilities and the plumbing is all out of date, do we not have, or do they not have an established maintenance team that's up? Because it's a beautiful jail. It might be overcrowded, but that's because we need to reduce crime in our city. Okay, but to that, where's the maintenance team been? Because I mean, we have 100-year-old mills and facilities around Jacksonville that are currently operating in full capacity. So with a 30-year-old jail, where's the maintenance at?
Well, I think there's a lot of, hey, Tango, how are you? I think there's a lot of different aspects to this. I don't know if you've ever been in that jail.
Nope.
No, I don't mean in the jail.
Yeah. No,
I did not put that the right way.
I've never been in there.
It is an interesting environment, and not one that I feel good about people being in, to be honest. There's not a lot of places to put people outdoors, or it's too much in too little a space. We need a new facility because we need all those things to be in one area, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And as I said, we want to use that land for other purposes, higher purposes that will create a much better return on investment and make our citizens feel good about being down there. So I think that's really the primary reason. I couldn't tell you about the maintenance. I don't know really about the maintenance process on the jail. But for so many reasons beyond the black mold, it's a priority to get it moved at this point. And they've been talking about it for years. So at some point over the next several years, I suspect we'll get there. But I understand the frustration about it. It's one of those things that I think for the long term, it really does make sense to have a larger facility that's not right smack dab in the middle of your entertainment district downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, Mayor Deegan.
How are you? What's your name?
I'm good. My name is Jack Paris.
Hi, Jack.
I am over from West Side, 32254 about, Paxton area.
Okay.
And my question for you is, do you know who International Flavors and Fragrances is? IFF.
Oh, okay.
So I'm glad you know about it. That's awesome. I do appreciate you as a mayor. I think you have been and will be a great mayor for the city. My biggest problem is they actively gaslight the entire population of that area into believing that what we're smelling and what we're getting these physical effects from is not them, and there's no one else in the area in which it makes sense from. I don't have all of the information because actually coming here tonight was a bit of an impromptu decision, but they have received a cease and desist in the past that lasted them 24 hours. And I'm sure the majority of the reason that lasted so little for them to do the investigation was because they lose money for every hour they are no longer producing, because pretty sure they produce 24/7. So I just would like to know if it's on your radar and how we can assist with quality of life of these people, because it's a beautiful area that's getting revitalized.
It is a beautiful area, yeah.
Revitalization, I see it happening. There's beautiful neighborhoods going up. Since I've lived in the past 5 years, a lot of the aura has changed into what feels like a revitalization. But you walk outside, you get smacked with that smell, and you get a headache after being out there for a few hours, and it's just unbearable sometimes. So,
Melissa, do you know what the latest is on that? I don't know what the very latest is in terms of what's happening. Melissa lives over there, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the complaints have been there forever. It sort of is reminiscent of when we had the paper mills, that everybody was always, and yeah, I would love to learn more about what the health issues are around that, because I hadn't heard that piece.
all I can say is headaches. That's about it. I think the smells.
Well, that's not desirable. Okay, all right, I got you. I'll look into it. Thank you very much. Hey, Tango.
Hi, Mayor Deegan. I was wondering, do I need to tell you who I am? And
No, Tango.
Do you know what I'm going to talk about?
I don't.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Well,
There's never any telling with you, Tango. Never any telling. Go ahead.
Never any telling. Everybody started talking tonight, and we started to talk about the reasons why you ran. And I don't know if you remember the conversation that we had when I was a part of the coalition of people who were pushing you to run for mayor. And I was saying that a lot of my friends were moving away from Jacksonville because they were artists. And then a lot of the conversations have been up here where people were talking about, how whenever we get into the tight spots, we always worry about, the specifics, the nuts and bolts, and the art tends to kind of fall to the side. And so what I wanted to ask you was, did you know that Ireland has started to pay artists?
Ireland?
Ireland.
Okay.
A city in Ireland did a 2-year study where they came up with a basic income for 2,000 artists. So basically, the income was about $350 a week, and they did it for 2 years. This year, they've decided to make it permanent. And the amount of money, like I said, it adds up to about $1,400 a month. But what they figured out from this study was that for every dollar they spent, they got back $1.08. So it's a situation of where them taking care of the artists actually produced more money just by them giving them this basic income. So my question in all of that is, are there any, next month, I know my friend Maurice Henderson is doing Think Bold, and I saw that you were involved, and I'm so glad about that. Are there any other programs, ideas that you could say in the city that may be a little bit different, like along these lines, and maybe could we get this far out and experiment with something like that?
Well, certainly, I know during the transition that we invested in a program where we gave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did, and thank you for one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is because you have been so responsive to the arts community, and you've been involved.
We know that we generally get a 20-to-1 return on the arts. Honestly, it's one of our greatest return on investments that we have in our city.
Cool. No, that's cool. So that is something that we could think about maybe down the line or something?
Yeah, I don't know about that. No, I'm not, and I'm not discounting what you're saying. I don't know if that would be something that we could do.
Right.
I'm always happy to listen to every idea, but I do believe it is important to invest in the arts. I think what the problem is, and it's a universal problem, and it happens over and over again, is when things get tight. What's the first thing to go, right?
The arts.
But the truth is, and this is why I'm constantly talking to people about return on investment, you have to look at what you invest in that brings you back the greatest return. So that's why I'm constantly talking about why downtown is so important. I believe the more we invest in downtown, the more it actually goes, the more people spend money, the more money goes into our coffers, the more we can fix the roads. Does that make sense? Because,
it does. It really does.
Because
Absolutely.
we want to remain a low tax city.
Yeah, no.
And if we want to have services for people, there's got to be some way, to get those. And the arts are one of those things that brings a huge return on investment for our citizens. And we make that argument every year, and sometimes our budget gets cut and sometimes it doesn't. Right. But we'll continue to do that. But listen, I'm open to any idea that would help us to grow the arts here, because our roots in Jacksonville are very much in the arts. La Villa, and well, not just La Villa, but I mean, the truth is that's our soul in this city.
Yeah.
And so we really want to get back to that. And we also don't want to become a donor city to other cities and allow them to make money off of these amazing artists instead of us. Right. So we do have to do better. We have tried real hard to do it. It's been an uphill push.
Yeah, you've been doing very well.
But we will continue to do that, and I appreciate the idea.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tango. Good to see you. Hi, good evening. Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. You know me already.
Yes.
Melody Bolduc, School Board, District 7, so for Mandarin Southside. So I think you've been privy to a lot of the conversations. We have an excellent set of councilmen who are really responsive when the school board comes with requests regarding student safety. So in regards to our school zones, our crossings, I would love to hear if you have kind of a long-term vision, because what I find is, and I know Nina's here too. Hey, Nina. Nina helps with the traffic engineering stuff. So my question is, do we have something? What I find is that when we come, we're asking for what is the cutout that makes a crosswalk here necessary, or that makes this middle school deserving or necessitating a school zone? Because as it is, school zones in high schools and middle schools, there are none. We don't have any help with crossing. So I see this as a citywide issue. Of course, I'm fighting for Mandarin High and Atlantic Coast and Mandarin Middle and Twin Lakes Middle, but really, all of our 25 middle schools and 15 high schools, our students deserve to arrive safely and to get home safely.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering if there's kind of a bigger way to address it, rather than me having to come and play one school's issue against another school. Well, it doesn't matter if they get it. We want Mandarin Middle to have it, right? And so here's why Mandarin Middle is different from all the other middle schools, is how this has been going. Is there a vision that you have, or that we can come together on, to make sure that all of our schools have the infrastructure and safety that they need?
I think it's a great question. Nina, do you want to talk about this at all? Yeah, I think it's a great point. I suspect it. I know everything is studied to find out what's the most heavily trafficked and all those things, but I do think it probably comes down to money in the budget.
So, well, thank you. As you know, Councilmember Howland recently passed legislation to include DCPS as part of our CIP process. So this is the first year, and it was an initial step at that. So the goal is to give DCPS that same input that the CPACs essentially have, which is at budget time to provide their requests, your requests, in a way that allows it to be evaluated by the same committee that evaluates all the other CIP projects. So this year, because it was early on and the legislation passed at a certain timing that was a little bit beyond the time that we're doing this year's budget, our traffic engineering division did take several of the requests that came in through the school safety committee that you're aware of, and so we have compiled some requests. It's being scored as part of the process that we're going through right now to look at our CIP requests. As you know, there's a lot of needs and a limited budget, but we have put a high priority on those. I do have some good news as far as some of the things that we talked about. We have discussed the fact that middle schools are not included in reduced speed school zone areas. The Traffic Engineering Division recently had a study performed, and based on safety as well as looking at some peer cities, the study determined that it would be a great idea to add middle schools to this reduced speed school zone area. So we have put in a request as a consideration for whether we can get that funded over time. And so we'll be working on that very shortly. So
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you coming.
And I want to thank you. So thank you for that. That is so encouraging, and I'm so glad to have heard that and to be able to bring it back. And I also want to thank you for the initiatives that you've been involved with literacy, and even with celebrating our teachers. You've been great in those capacities, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your name?
Arturo Rosario Diaz.
Hi, Arturo.
And I live in Mandarin for over 30 years. The first time that I met you was over I-10, the major fires that we had over there. I don't know if you remember me, but anyway, my main concern is water and sewer. Septic tanks is things of the past. I mean, that's reality.
I wish that were true.
I mean, I see our building around here, Mandarin, small, subdivisions and all this, and I only have seen one guy that had done the proper way, city water and city sewer. Okay, I got a second property right now, and it's about 7 houses in there. I've been trying to get JEA to put a meter there so I can have city water at least, not so much about the sewer. I know the sewer, it's something major. They have to work on it. But they keep building, and they have built more houses, small, 3, 4, 5, and put a sewer there. The well water that we have, and the people that live in Mandarin, they got well water, are getting, bad. I mean, real bad. And I have several companies that have come and make an analysis and all this stuff. And I had gone on my own and send it to different labs from contacts that I have. And the water quality is real bad. I mean, the bacteria level is not too good for the neighborhood in Mandarin. I mean, my CNA is we keep putting money in the city, and we want to be up there. So at least, if we can get JEA to come and put some meters, for these people.
I think perhaps, right. We can try to connect you with somebody at JEA that may be able to address that.
Well, I talk to JEA, and I get a different person all the time when I call over there. Run around, no straight answer.
Well, I suspect we can get you with the people that can give you the straight answer.
Well, now I got some people that work in JEA that work with me in the city when I was in the fire department for over 25 years. They're in there, they'll be able to help me, or give me some guidance. But everything comes to budget. You know, they have to be budgeting and all this.
Well, that is a part of life. Unfortunately, that is a part of life that for us. Al is going to come and help you and get your information, and we'll see what we can do to help. Okay?
Yeah, and because I know in Arlington, they have been working in that area. They have been removing the septic tanks.
Yeah, we're working as fast as we can to remove the septic tanks that are the most egregious.
I'm going to be 7 feet under the ground before they get to my
Listen,
property.
I understand, but you need to understand that in terms for us to be able to remove septic tanks in a neighborhood, 70% of the people in the neighborhood have to agree to that. So you have to get to that number first, and then it takes an inordinate amount of time to get all of that out of the ground. So it really is a very laborious process. But I will tell you that there were years that we have budgeted more for removing septic tanks than we had the ability to remove because either they weren't approved by the neighborhood or because it's just a laborious process. So we are moving as fast as we can on that. Where I agree with you is we shouldn't still be putting them in the ground. Yeah. We need to move past that, and I think part of that has to do with building in places that have already some good infrastructure around them instead of putting in new septic tanks. I don't want to see us continue to use septic tanks, but I need to move on from this, so I'm gonna have you talk to Al.
I just got one more sentence.
Okay, real quick.
Real quick. You called code enforcement and made a complaint about something, overgrown, and all this. And it took me 5 work orders to come and the people and just trim a little bit and go away. Nobody checked whatever, they.
Well, that is something. Yeah, Al can help you with this, but that is something that I do have some control over. So I will take a look at that.
Okay,
thank you so much. Good evening.
Good evening.
What's your name?
Griffin Neatling.
Hi, Griffin.
Hi, I live over on the west side. I work downtown. I'm a renter. I've been renting in the city pretty much my whole life. Renters around the city I talk to were growing more and more concerned by the corporate and investment firm landlords we're having move in. And now we understand, Florida legislature has barred the city from being able to do a whole lot of anything when it comes to the relationship between the tenant and a landlord. But a lot of these ones, they move in and they make life worse for a lot of the tenants. And oftentimes this happens without the tenants even realizing it occurred. They suddenly go to call to make a maintenance complaint one day, and then they have to, do Sunbiz bingo to try to figure out who owns what. We see that constantly now. But the relationship ideally between like a mom and pop landlord and a tenant is that the house is the commodity, right? And the tenant is the customer. But with these corporate landlords and these other ones, they're so big, and who they answer to is their investment firms, or to the investors. The investors are the consumers, and we, the tenants, we're the commodity. We're what they trade on. And we're becoming more and more, quite frankly, desperate everywhere around the city. And a lot of these groups, as I said, I work downtown. I see the building downtown, the investment downtown, it's fantastic. I mean, I see the cranes up every single day when I'm driving to work. It's great. But a lot of these groups we're partnering with who have the money, who have this, they're the same investment firms that are doing this to working people. And I get it, they got the money, they're willing, and I want to see them invest. But I kind of just want to remind, any council people in the audience, as well as yourself, for working people, these aren't the good guys. These are the guys who are tearing us apart. And I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I appreciate everything you said. I mean, that's you're very, very well said. I don't have a solution for you, unfortunately. I'm glad that you prefaced your comments by our hands are very much tied on the state level on a lot of those issues, and every year it's more. If you've been following the Florida legislature this year, there are all sorts of bills that will probably make it to passage that that take more rights away from us to determine how we use our land, how developers are able to develop our land, all those things. It's very concerning to me and to many local governments, but it is, and I'm glad you brought the issue up, because
The U.S. Senate just passed a bill to ban investors from buying single-family homes.
And that helps quite a lot. The single-family homes issue is a
the
big
Senate?
issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has that gone to the House yet? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. I don't know how much it mitigates our issues here in Florida, but listen, I think the more that people bring up these issues like you do, my frustration has been that, that's an affordability issue in addition to so many other things. That's what we should be focused on. That's what all of us in public service that are representatives of the people of our cities and states and federal government and everything should be focused on. And I would love to see things directed more that way. Again, I hope you'll make your voice heard not only here, but in Tallahassee, and to your representatives, both on this body, but also in Tallahassee. I don't know who your representative is, but it'd be real important for you to, not only write letters, but just, stand on your soapbox and talk about it. Hopefully this action in the Senate will turn into something real, and then the state would have to take a look at that. So, thank you. I really appreciate you for coming.
Thank you.
Good evening.
All right. Nick Harding, senior editor of the Duval Tribune. So I actually do.
I think you guys are at every one of my town halls. You must. It's what is the term? It's actually romantic, right?
So okay.
Yeah, some of y'all are going to get that. Not many of you, but the women probably will. It's a Taylor Swift song. It's okay.
Gotcha. All right. So we're talking about the budget here. So one issue I've noticed in the budget with the school board is that they are paying $18 to $25 million every year to JEA. And then JEA takes that money from the schools and turns around and gives it to the city of Jacksonville. They give the one-time disbursements, and you know what I'm talking about. Is there a way for you to push JEA, well, at least your appointees on JEA to give some sort of waiver to the schools, like look, they've got a $100 million deficit, and you guys are taking a quarter of it. In they're part owners basically. The way the city is structured.
Yeah, I don't know really how to respond to that, because that's a complicated process, all of it. But we obviously, the schools are largely funded by the state. It's certainly not adequate. JEA is an important partner that we have in the city as well. Certainly, we want to be a good partner to our schools, but at some point there's when you're squeezing the toothpaste tube, it's hard it's hard to say that the process you're talking about is the thing that needs to be addressed. I'm really not sure in terms of what you're bringing up, if that is where the problem lies, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, it would help kind of mitigate some of that deficit that they're facing down this year.
Well, we have I believe we have a half cent. Is it a half cent?
Yeah.
Which I think the school board is asking for again this year.
Yes.
Which will certainly be helpful. But at some point, see, what's happening is, and this is what you need to understand, is when at the state level, you get a pittance every year for. I think our investment in education is somewhere between 45th and 49th in all the states in the country, from the state of Florida. Okay, so what happens? That puts a squeeze on the cities. So at some point, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Do you see what I'm saying? You cannot depend on the cities to make up all of that money that the state is not providing for the schools.
Well, we're since it's a publicly owned utility, we can just say, look, we're not going to charge you for your use.
Well, then that's money out of our budget. That we don't have to provide services for our residents. That's what I'm saying. And this happens over and over again from the state level. Unfunded mandates that we have to. So the more that they squeeze the schools, the more people go, well, why aren't you? We're doing everything that we can. We barely are covering our police and fire budgets just from our property taxes, and now the state wants to eliminate property taxes. Listen, I know that it's popular. To get rid of taxes. But at the end of the day, at some point, people have to decide, what kind of state do you want? What kind of community do you want? Do you want the services that you say that you want? What is, so because all those things are connected. So I would say to you that, the city needs a contribution from JEA. That's a needed contribution that we get, and it's a public utility that we support. So I don't know that is the solution to the problem of underfunded schools.
Okay. Well, in the second issue, I see Mr. Nooney couldn't make it out here tonight.
I am shocked, I have to say. I don't think he has ever missed one of anybody's meetings. He's always, I'm worried about him a little bit. I hope he's okay.
But one of the things he's talked about, in between, when he's got moments of coherence, basically, is that the True Commission, I've been to one of their meetings, and that was the meeting where they were passing a rule to basically limit his ability to speak, because he's the only one who shows up to these meetings. Nobody else is doing that. You have the ability to kind of mitigate that because you have 5 vacancies on the True Commission. If you could appoint 5 people that are going to say, look, we're not going to limit the ability of citizens to speak in this city, he can get up and he get his 3 minutes like everybody else instead of whatever requirement it is that they've made. That would be tremendously helpful to he's a dedicated person. He's sometimes hard to understand. I get that. He's sometimes
Oh, he's great. I wish everybody cared as much as he does.
Well, Mr. Boylan isn't here, but Mr. Boylan will probably have much meaner words to say about him. But
I don't think so. I don't think he would.
But basically, would you be willing to appoint 5 people? Appoint Mr. Nooney to the board, actually, matter of fact.
Listen, you're talking about the fact that you can't speak as long as you want to at city council?
No. So the True Commission passed a rule. It was specifically directed at Mr. Nooney because he's the only person speaking at a True Commission meeting. But it was basically.
I see what you're saying.
It basically says that you have to email in advance. You don't get the public comment. It has to be limited to what's on their agenda. You can't just have a public comment and bring new issues about the board.
Got it. Okay, we'll look at that. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm saying appoint Mr. Nooney to the board and
thank you.
Tell Mr. Raymond Day to go to hell.
Oh goodness. Okay. I try not to ever do that, but I appreciate the suggestion. Okay.
Hey Donna.
Hey Michael, how are you?
Hanging in. As a person born and raised in Mandarin, here all my life, my mom currently works downtown. However, due to the rising rent costs and everything, with the affordability crisis, she is moving to Fernandina at the end of May. That leaves me as a disabled person. Literally, I am homeless as of this weekend. I have been on the list for the past 4 years for housing, disability, all of that. Is there anything that basically can be done to help the single people like me who are falling through the cracks because there's nothing being done to help folks like me who are just
please don't
struggling?
say nothing. I mean, we really are very focused on this issue, and I know that doesn't help you right this very second, but it's exactly why I led off the meeting talking about all the additional affordable housing units that we are trying to get into the pipeline. And in fact, a number of the people that are creating these apartments, these living areas downtown, are including affordable housing units, or will in their next phases in terms of what they're providing. And we're trying to come up with an opportunity to create more of those within the ones that are already going up. So the idea behind those, and when I talk about affordable housing, I'm talking about for entry level, young people like yourself that are basically looking for an affordable place to live on what may not be a large salary yet.
Yes. Yeah. currently I'm doing Uber Eats, which is, again,
Yeah,
$50
so
a day.
we truly are working on that. We are working as fast as we can, and I think we've made a lot of progress. But it's not something that we're going to be able to solve overnight. And I'm very sorry for what you're going through. But I do want you to know we are laser focused on trying to create more of those opportunities. I wish we could do it fast enough to keep your mom downtown, but maybe she'll move back. Melissa will help you out too. We'll try to see if we can help you find something. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you. It's good to see you. Good evening.
I'm the last one.
Okay.
Maria Evans.
Hi, Maria.
And I just wanted to let you know that you are a mayor that does promises made, promises kept. I've lived in
appreciate that.
Jacksonville all my life, been here for 75 years, but I'm not going to tell you my age. But anyway, I want to compliment one of your workers, Michael Francis. He's a project supervisor of Southeast Maintenance Yard. And
Michael Francis, write that down. We're going to give him a shout out in one of our. Every week we shout out somebody doing a good job in the city in our internal videos.
That deserves a raise. He came out. His crew did an excellent job, and I just want to commend him and his crew for doing the amazing work on repairing our street.
Well,
and it's
thank
because of
you.
you, because I was at your first town meeting in Mandarin. And you mentioned then, promises made, promises kept, and you're continuing that, and I, as a constituent, really appreciate it.
I appreciate that so much. What a nice thing to end on. Make sure we get that information, Melissa, so we can. Okay, great. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here tonight. Boy, I thought we had a handful of people, and it ended up we had a really nice discussion tonight. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for attending, and we'll do this again in a few months. So appreciate it. Take care.